Welcome back, friends and neighbors. This is RGR Football. I'm Ryan Tracy. Ryan Going Rogue is the name of this one. I want to go over, since I was on the live stream for the Locked On Network last night and didn't have a chance to give you my reaction to the picks. Want to give you a quick one here today before I get ready to do night two. It's going to be a long one. You can check that out on the Locked On NFL channel here on YouTube, as well as anywhere that you can stream Tegna stations, including Roku and everywhere else. Now, this was a move that we kind of saw coming, right? Knowing that the Chiefs had 29 and 30, we didn't think we wanted to pick them back to back. So they move up. And to hear Brett Veach tell it, it was the surprise that Trent McDuffie was still on the board. That is something that I think makes some sense given the way that they evaluated him. He does a lot of good things. He's a guy that has played with the program that they have proven value from, in that he played for the same coach in the same system that Marcus Peters played for. So you can go back to that as a guy that, even though he played a lot, predominantly zone, he still fits into what the Chiefs want to do because they do want to be multiple. I actually do think that they want to move a little bit more to the zone aspects so that they could try to do some more exotic things with the blitz package, and I do like that. And so as it comes down, what you end up getting is that, yes, he's got a little bit shorter arms, but he's a great athlete. He's super instinctual. He knows how to attack the ball. Didn't come away with a ton of interceptions in college, but that's not necessarily the end-all, be-all. He is a guy that understands where to be and how to deny passes. And I think when it's all said and done, that's going to be the big thing that everyone's going to enjoy about what Trent McDuffie brings to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the interesting thing for me, and I'll just give you a little bit behind the scenes here. I already have one screen going. I can't really show the second one. But when you break it all down, when you go through the athletic matrix in which he was 10, when you go through the production matrix, all those metrics that I have in the draft guide, he was number 2 overall. Then you put the film grade on, we had him number 4. When you work all that out and you weight everything accordingly to the system that we use, Trent McDuffie was corner number 1 in this class, in that he has those high marks in each of those areas. So for him to be available at 21, I can understand the glee that Brett Veach felt, and certainly don't mind the compensation. I think they made a good move in going up to get who they felt was the best corner. I certainly, when it was all said and done, I had him 1. Stingley was 3. And Sauce was number 7 in the overall metrics when you balance out film, athleticism, and production. So I think that should alleviate some concerns. Some of the highlights for Trent McDuffie. 3rd in the nation in this draft class, of allowed completion percentage. So he denies passes. It's not so much the PBUs and the interceptions as much as it is being positionally there, not allowing the passes to be caught. Hawk rate, he's at 13, which means he does make plays on the ball. And in this class, he was 13th of that group. But yards per comp allowed, 3rd. Missed tackle rate, 3rd. That is the big key, because if you're going to play more zone and that's your thought, that's your idea, you got to be able to tackle. Ifs, ands, or buts, no matter what, you have to be able to tackle in an off position, and that's what Trent McDuffie does. So I think he allows you to do everything. I actually liked his man snaps. He only played about 18% of them in college, but I do like it. And we've talked about him through the draft process. So I think he can play man for you, and you can feel comfortable with that, even though he wasn't asked to do it a ton in college, much like Marcus Peters wasn't. So I think there's a couple of things working there. The relationship and the understanding that you have from what Jimmy Lake coaches guys to do and how they go about it, and then the transition that they're able to make from Washington as a program into the NFL, into your program. So that makes a lot of sense. And I like that they went after it, and they did it. Now, a couple of things. He's not going to be a guy that forces a lot of fumbles or makes tackles for losses. He doesn't get blitzed a lot. He was 25th in the Eagle Matrix, and that is like that combined playmaker index, not just in pass coverage, but also behind the line of scrimmage. So that is key to know. Also, he played in the slot just 2%. And I know a lot of people want to push him into there. I think that is a viable possibility, but I don't think that has to be the way that it starts for Trent McDuffie. Let's see what they get to in OTAs and what they get to in camp. I think they'll try him out at nickel, and they'll see how that goes, because I do think he has good movement skills, an upgrade over Rashad Fenton in terms of change of direction and that kind of thing. He ended up in explosiveness, number 8, deep range number 10, and his change of direction was 14, so an overall matrix of 10 in this class. He is slightly behind Kyler Gordon, who should be available on day 2. You could even make a double run of it, and that is certainly something that I won't say is out of the realm of possibility. Now, when we switch over and we take a look at your other new Kansas City Chief, I think you guys are going to be very happy with him. George Karlaftis comes in, and a lot of folks liked him in this range. A number of analysts had him here. I did not, only because he is a narrow gauge. He's going to line up here on the right-hand side here, and he is a narrow gauge kind of guy. He does some things super well. He's got a great first step. He uses his hands well, and he comes down the line with power. He's not a bendy guy. He isn't somebody that can turn the corner. And so if you're talking about a short duration, a short rush, especially with the ball coming out these days in 2.2, he's got to crush through that tackle. And that's the thing. He will be a power edge. He's a Spags guy. This is the perfect pick for what Spags has always wanted to do. So when I theorized a few weeks ago that, hey, maybe they were going to adopt something a little bit different, maybe they were going to change their criteria for what they want to do, maybe that's not happening. There's still a possibility, though, because I think what George Karlaftis does really well, he does really well. There are some gaps there, too. There are some recognition issues. There are certainly defending screens, and there's the bend around the edge. Can you line him up in a wide 9 and hope that he gets there? His first step is good, but turning that corner is not his specialty. So I think you have to combine him with another young edge. And I think there's lots of the bendy type guys that are like the stand-up 3-4 outside linebackers that will be a designated pass rush role that can come in and help that. So just because they went with a guy that I actually had at the top of the second round, I had him and Cam Thomas right in that 45-ish range. Cam Thomas could still be an option, just so you know, because he moves laterally a lot better, markedly better, as good as Trayvon Walker does. Doesn't play with quite as much power as Karlaftis does. So that's a nice combination in two guys that are 6'4 and 265 plus. You could also go a little bit smaller with someone like D'Angelo Malone. I think he might sneak into the back end of tonight's rounds here in the third, so keep an eye on that. And Cody, I will say hi to Ross Jackson for you. We'll be working together tonight. If you guys didn't get a chance to see that stream, check that out. We're going to be going the whole wire to wire, and every single pick we're talking about, we're going through with ex-players in my podcast partner, Eric Crocker, as well as Isaiah Stanback, me, Eric Crocker, Peter Bukowski. We're all on the couch together. And then we have the local guys that are coming in for not only their college teams, but their selected teams as well. So check that out. I do want to emphasize, I don't think Karlaftis was the best player for the edge there, but he was the best fit for what Spags likes to do. So we can't be too surprised by this. In fact, my tweet after it happened, because I only get a couple seconds in between picks when we're on the live stream, is that we all knew this was coming. This is their kind of guy. This is Spags' kind of guy. A lot of talk about, well, Jermaine Johnson was there at 21. He was, but when they went to go McDuffie, it was for McDuffie. It was not just the best player available, we're going to go up at 21. It was going to get McDuffie. It was his fall that they didn't expect him to be there that triggered that trade up. So that tells you that the evaluation was that, yes, Jermaine Johnson is a good player. I definitely agree with that. But he wasn't their guy. He isn't their fit. He is more of a speed rusher and a guy that can do a little bit of everything. Aaron Morrow's in the chat. Cheers to him. Let's see. Joshua asked, do you think that Jermaine Johnson can maintain that sack rate in the pros? I don't know. I think that's a good question, because when you look at Karlaftis, the advantages, and I ran scenarios of him and Jermaine Johnson back to back to back to back, and they come out in the athletic matrix not terribly different. Karlaftis at 22, Jermaine Johnson at 19. Power was their strength. Karlaftis at looks like 22, and explosiveness 12. So that's a nice one for him, whereas Jermaine Johnson had the power at 11 and explosiveness at 24. The range is there. The change of direction is the big deal. Neither of them corner that well. I do think that Jermaine Johnson is a little bit stiff, and Karlaftis is a lot stiff. But in usage pattern for the Kansas City Chiefs, he can come downhill. They're going to use him in a straight-ahead fashion. If they decide to go to a three-man front, I think he can play the 5-tech as well. I am not concerned about that. I actually put in my notes that maybe I'll switch over and show you guys that, how I graded him out. If I can get us there, we will see. I got to pull that tab out here, and then I will show you guys a little bit. Because that's significant. There are multiple ways to use him. Wouldn't have been the guy that I picked. I'm not going to pretend that I was all for it. I wasn't. But he certainly has the strengths that they feel they can take advantage of and use to their liking, and that's perfectly fine. I think that it can pay off, especially, again, if you pair him with someone else who has the ability to come off the edge really well and more quickly. And I think that's where it comes down to. Let me show you guys this. This is my grade sheet, and I did all the edges this year, so this is my work here. And what I do want to show you, if I make this screen a little bit smaller, I can get you the whole grade, hopefully. And here's what it comes down to. His get off is decent. His bend is good. And let me explain the difference between get off and first step. His first step is explosive. His anticipation is not that great. And so that's what I term get off versus a first step. But his hand fighting was a 7 out of 10. His pass rush moves, he's got a few. He's got a long way to go for that. Some of my positive traits include his motor and his edge setting, strong hands, his acceleration in a straight line. And that's exactly what I wrote when I watched him months ago. Right there in a straight line. Doesn't corner. But he's got a bull, a swim, a long arm. He's got some things that you can really build on there. More strength-oriented, but that's okay. Inconsistent with his first step, and that is more tied to the snap anticipation and understanding what he's seeing. As Brett Veach said, he's a player that hasn't played a whole lot, so that makes sense as well. And then game to game, he was kind of up and down for me. I don't see any plan or designated counters in his pass rush plan, so he's definitely got some learning to do. The 21 and under thing that Brett Veach said, I think that's actually really key because that's what they were banking on. He needs to learn to shed better. He needs to tackle a little bit better. That's some of the lower grades I had here. But when you look on the grades, its edge setting is 7. The functional strength and the run stopping are 8s. The motor and the pass rush power, those are 7. Those are all good things that you can build on and that can make a significant difference. And that's why he's there. So I don't think it's the end-all, be-all. I would like to see some speed come off the other side, especially if you're going to get to that point. What do they do tonight? They could add another one. They do have multiple picks still, 62 and 50. I think you could look at a wide receiver in this mix. You could look at another edge. I'm glad to see that they used the pick on a corner, and I'm glad to see that they had a guy that they wanted in Karlaftis that they felt could go do what they wanted, and they went and got him. And so despite the fact that I wouldn't have made that selection, I think there were players available that I probably would have gone with. I'm not going to complain because that's their evaluation, and they went with it. Whatever you do in this draft, you have to do it with conviction. That's how I firmly feel. Even if you're not in the majority and you have a grade that's separate from the rest of the league, you still have to do it with conviction. So I'm happy for them. I think I was pleasantly surprised that Nick Bolton outplayed my prediction for him last year. Still has the same type of things that he will have to continue to develop, but he played right up and a little bit past my projection for him as a rookie. I think Karlaftis could do the same thing, especially if you stack it in a way that allows him to be singled up. If he can do that, I think he's going to sit a lot of tackles back in on their quarterbacks, and that's going to help them quite a bit. So that's it for me today. I will be back and try to give you some tomorrow, although I'll be streaming all day tomorrow as well, covering the entire draft for you over on the Locked On NFL channel. Dan has the stream here, all Chiefs oriented as we go through. He will take you through pick by pick by pick. There might be 2 streams tonight as he has a hiccup that he might have to take care of. But be here, be back on the channel tonight as the draft gets going. I think the Chiefs could be moving around too, so we've got to be paying attention to what they decide to do, because with so many selections and picks available to them, I do think that they can move around, and I don't think Brett Veach is going to be very shy about it. So let's see what happens tonight. I hope you guys have a great night. Thank you for watching this. Thank you for watching the streams. We appreciate all the support. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you as soon as I can.